Okay, so you were talking about discipline comes from structure.
Yeah, I think discipline comes from structure. If you're trying to become more self-disciplined, and I mean, I struggle with it just like anyone else, and it has to, from what I've learned and what I've experienced and what I've seen work, you have to have small successes it's almost like a task and reward type system that you place yourself in, along with placing other people in. For those that come in and maybe they don't like what I have them do, like I'm dying out here and this guy is still making me do this, and then I spin it in a way that yeah, I'm making you do this, but you're still here. So there's something there that's telling you still need to be here.
Yeah.
And it may be the fact that you've spent money and invested in something, but if it didn't mean that much to you then, you're willing to drop $100, then why does that $100 mean so much to you now? Is it really the $100 or something that you're actually improving? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the discipline part really kind of sets in for people, adults-wise. Mm-hmm. For children, you have to show them that they can do something they didn't think they could do, and that's where that self-discipline comes in. And even with that self-discipline, they're going to struggle. Adults are going to struggle. And out here, I tell the adults the same as I would tell the kids. I'm not a babysitter. If you don't want to be here, you're more than welcome to leave. I'm not going to stop you. I'll try to convince you to not go. But at the same time, you will develop self-discipline by taking the actions that you know is necessary. That in itself is what discipline is.
Mm-hmm.
Doing something you don't want to do, but you know it's going to make you better. And I think that's where that discipline is going to come
in. Would you talk about all the different people who come through the door, whether they become students or they're parents or whatever? Who are the stakeholders who walk in the door into the dojang, and what is their experience here, or what kind of experience do you provide for them?
Well, I think martial arts is a vehicle for a multitude of things. One of the first questions I ask when someone comes in, one, how did you find us? And two, what are you hoping to get out of it? Some people, I've had some fathers tell me that they want their kids to be tougher. And, a lot of things like that just can't happen. It has to come from that person. So when someone comes in, I try to find out what they're really looking for. To say they want to learn martial arts, that's a really broad term. So I ask and I try to figure out what it is that's lacking in their life, what type of pains do they have in their life that they basically want fixed. Mm-hmm. And while I don't have any degrees in child behavior and anything like that, I do have 20 plus years of experience of working with kids that were physically and mentally disabled to kids who have no social skills and are extremely awkward in a social environment. To kids who thrive on crowds and that competitive atmosphere. So I try to find out what they need, what I can help them with, what they're looking for, and then I use martial arts to fill in the blank. To me, martial arts is so much more than kicking and punching. It is really there's not much that I don't think martial arts can't accomplish with time. It's not a cure-all, but it's definitely a very useful tool.
Mm-hmm. So you were on the 8th Street location.
Mm-hmm.
So what did, and so why did you move from that location to this one?
Bottom line, we needed more room.
Okay.
That location over there, our training floor was a little over 900 square feet, and our classes were becoming 15 to 20 people per class, and that was getting pretty tight. Not to mention, you can only do so much, with the room that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Parents were a little more crowded. The parking wasn't the best. I think one of the biggest things, one of the biggest factors for us to move was the parking. That was really quite huge. We had, I think, 15 spots over there
Mm-hmm.
total, and when there was a change in classes, parents picking up and dropping off, that looked like Chicago rush hour times 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we actually had a couple fender benders in the parking lot.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I realized at that point it's time to go. People are kind of shimmying and shoving through one another, and so we started looking, and I liked the location over there when we first got there, simply because its curb appeal. It
Mm-hmm.
was at a major intersection. I mean, we sat next to a restaurant and a smaller shopping center. We sat in between the two with the downtown area, all the business hub, just a few blocks away. So in order to get through Pekin, you pretty much had to drive past the school.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that served a big, that served a pretty big purpose.
So when you moved here, or if I should ask first, is when you started looking for a new building,
Mm-hmm.
a new school location, what were you looking for?
First thing, I was looking for space. I wanted a big open area. When we started looking for something, we didn't even bother to look at shops, I guess you could say, shop locations. We started looking in warehouse locations. It had to be a minimum of 3,500 square feet before we'd even bother to look at it. Simply because in my head, I knew what the school would look like,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. And what we had at the present time was an abbreviated version of what I wanted. So we started looking at things that were much bigger than what most people would even consider, to start out with. It needed to have lots of room for the training floor. The difference between this place and the other place was I wanted to have access from the parents and the students. I wanted them to be able to see one another, but not necessarily have full access to each other. Because it can become difficult when parents are trying to coach, for lack of better words, their students, their kids while they're on the floor. And, I did it. I don't know how many parents I've had to say, that's okay, we got it, Yeah, exactly. Why are you not doing that? You did that at home.
Be louder.
Yeah.
Be louder.
So we definitely, the location that we were at when we first started, we had the lobby, and it had, a definite cutoff. There was a wall there that we cut a big hole in, and it made it look nice, and did all that. And then I realized that parents couldn't see the students. Only a few parents, and depending on where they stood, could see the entire training floor. And to me, that was a problem because I don't want the training experience to be solely the student. I think that's where a lot of activities like this lack. Parents want to be involved. If they come in here, they're not just coming in to sit and wait. There's lots of things around here for them to do. But if they're going to be in here, I think they should be able to be involved at least in the aspect of watching and hearing and seeing what we're doing. And so when we moved over here, my idea was that there would be nothing separating the parents' area, the lobby area, from the training floor other than an actual a physical flooring. And so that's why our floor here looks a little bit elevated, and it has a border around it. And we had the belts that were going around, like the movie theater type belts you would see.
Oh yeah.
And they went all the way down, but I sat out here with the parents during our open house, and I was watching the students and basically seeing what the parents saw. And there's this big black line through, I thought about if I was trying to take a picture, what's going to be in that picture? This big black line. And that would just upset me. And so I took that away. I felt that maybe we needed some sort of border between the training floor, but it was too obstructive. I've seen other schools where they had like a little knee wall, like a half wall, and that worked for the purpose of separating the floor, but it also seemed like it separated the parents as well. Almost like a pipeline running through a field. It separates one side of the field from the other, and so I didn't want that. I wanted it to feel more open, and no matter where the parents sat in the lobby, they had to be able to see the entire floor. So that was a requirement that I had, in the design. So no matter where you sit out here, you can see the entire floor.
Let's see. Is there a category of lifespan within students, customers' experience with martial arts? That is, you could have a student like yourself that starts it and says, "This is it," or is it Sabamnim Megan? Sabamnim Megan. But then there's also folks like myself who's like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Black belt. And then there's some who say, yeah, I'm going to get so far. And then do you see that? Can you categorize that sort of, is that sort of a customer that?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. You can, if you know what you're looking for, you can almost pick that out, within the first few weeks of a student training. And then there are the exceptions, with everything. I think people come, there's three types of students, in my world. There's the student who mom and dad says, you need more discipline in your life, you're driving us nuts, you have way too much energy, here, go do this. And that student doesn't necessarily want to be here, mom and dad's making me. I'd rather be at home watching YouTube and playing video games, which is fine. And then there's the one that's curious, and she's coming in to see what that whole martial arts thing is all about. And they will typically stick around for about a year, that one that's curious. if they like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, typically if someone comes in and they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to see what it's like, and they'll either stick around for about 2 to 3 months to get past that honeymoon phase, or you'll see them at least a year. And then there's the students that, you know, are the exception, and they come in with this, you know, one-track mind. I want to learn how to do this. I want to be a black belt, you know. And then there's, you know, the combination of all three.
Mm-hmm.
They may come in because mom and dad makes them, and they're like, well, this is kind of neat. And like, oh, wow, I really can do this. And that was kind of me to a certain extent. You know, I was the one that wanted to do it, but then my mom and dad said, no, you got to do it. And, you know, as an instructor, I told my kids when they started, you have to stay until you get your black belt. You know, because I want you to understand that struggle and the success and that feeling that no one helped you do this. You had to accomplish that on your own. So yeah, there's definitely I think a lifespan of the average student, at least in my experience, is usually about 8 months. If they're enjoying it and they don't have a lot of other activities going on in their life, you would typically see them for about a year, and then again, a lot of that plays on what type of classes, what type of class it is. You know, is it very militant? Is it very fun? I mean, their version of fun. You know, are they able to kind of let their hair down a little bit and relax? I think martial arts is a different animal. You know, I've been in the schools that are incredibly militant and they, you know, you're not allowed to smile or anything else like that. But
Yeah.
you know, but then I've been in schools where, you know, yeah, let's have fun. That's more my teaching style.
Yeah. So, and obviously, I don't really expect you to have an answer to this because, you know, you opened a week ago.
Yeah.
But what does this environment not do that you would like to see it do one day? Or what, you know, what do you see? Do you see phases of, well, someday I'd like to have something else, or what, you know, what do you see here that you wish might have been different, or you foresee changing?
I think, well, one, if I ever get the opportunity, we'll make it taller and add a second floor.
Oh, cool. Okay.
More of a loft type area for the parents, and then open the rest of this out for training. So make the training floor bigger. As far as structural wise, there's not much more that I would want to do here. You know, everyone wants a bigger training floor, but the way I've designed it is, you know, so it looks like the parents and everything else are involved with it. I added, you know, the big projector screen because everything that I'm doing here needs to feel service-based. That was my constant fallback. It has to feel like I'm doing something for the students, not the students doing something for the school. I think as a business owner, and two, as a martial arts instructor, people are coming to you to receive a product. You cannot have that mindset of, you're coming to me because I have something you want. You're coming to me because I have something that I can give you. And it's not up to me whether or not I want to give it to you. If you want it, I'll provide it to you, and then it's up to you whether or not you want to take it with you.
In that regard, what has been your experience in terms of marketing, public relations? What's been the most effective strategy for you in terms of bringing students, getting people in the door?
Yeah. By far, social media is, for us, social media was the game changer. We went from 50 students, when we opened at the other school, the other location, and we spun our wheels for probably a good 2 years, 3 years at least. Never really broke 50, maybe 60 students at any one time. And then we changed the way we did things, started changing a few systems in the teaching, and started using a lot of social media, Facebook, Instagram, and that was huge. We literally doubled our numbers, in a year, and went from 50 students to almost 150 now. And so, yeah, social media is probably the, without a doubt, the most dominant form of marketing you could use right now. Mm-hmm. You have to keep up with it, though, because it's constantly changing. Facebook's constantly changing their algorithms of who and what gets seen and how it gets seen. It's like that itself, Facebook in itself is this constant morphing animal. Mm-hmm. At one time it was different pictures, and then it moved to videos, and now it's moving into more live videos, and according to Mark Zuckerberg, it has to evict emotion, from their watchers. Social media got pretty slammed, mm-hmm. and that it was ripping apart the social fabric. People are losing their ability to even communicate with one another. And so Mark Zuckerberg changing things around and said the only way that, as a business, you can't necessarily spam Facebook anymore, because that was the thing. You would post something every day, and now it has to be more emotional. I think the marketing for us was social media, and then the other side of it was creating a relationship with students that came in. Regardless of whether they stayed or not, I still have communications with, whether it be through social media or even phone calls, with students and former students. We want to be a presence in the community, and as a result, we're starting to have elementary schools contacting us and doing presentations, and I think having the new location is a big plus too.
I knew I had a question. I shouldn't be whispering that on camera. It's very unprofessional. Okay. Here's and everything being very private, and I want to respect that.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, from projections, what is your, because you talked about any given time you're going to have attrition with students and new mm-hmm. students coming in. What do you imagine is your minimum number of students to maintain the business, to keep things going, given all the other expenses and so forth that you'll have?
Yeah. I think our minimum number would be between 100 to 125 students to maintain the business.
Okay.
And that 25 to 50 students, between 125 to 175 students, that's your buffer. Mm-hmm. Because there is going to be that attrition. So you have to constantly have that flow of students coming in, because you are going to have a constant flow of students going out. I read it once in a marketing blog that martial arts schools will lose 80% of their students that come in each year. And if you look at it in the big picture, that's kind of correct. I think we've probably had 300 to 400 students come through the door, but only about 20%, 25% have stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And as a business, as this type of business, that's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want 400 students.
Yeah.
For me to say that and say, yeah, I don't want 400 students. No, I don't. I do want 400 students, but I wouldn't want that many students trying to train, in groups of 40 and 50 at a time. That'd be pretty difficult. And so, yeah, you definitely, you need, in this type of business, I would say between 125 and 100 students to maintain our costs.
So then what would be, it's you have so many students at the Pekin location or at a smaller school, and then you say, okay, as soon as I hit this threshold consistently,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to find a new location.
Right.
What would you imagine your threshold, a consistent threshold, be at this location where you say either I need to open up a second one or we need to move?
We're at about 150 students here, and I think we're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We're comfortable in the fact that we have the room to provide the service that they need. Moving to a bigger location, naturally the expenses went up.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were at the smaller location, things were much better. Moved to the bigger location, expenses go up, it costs more, we have to hire more staff and to do all that. So I would say if we hit between 250, 300, 350, if we doubled our numbers, we would have to start, rearranging.
Mm-hmm.
One of the benefits of this location is, we have this floor here, but we also have a garage in the back that's about 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
And it's completely unfinished. So we, in essence, have a secondary school just waiting to be built behind us. It's possible we're going to be here for quite a while. We could handle a load of 300 or 400 students, coming through the door. It would be difficult. You definitely have to have some pretty solid systems in place.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something that we couldn't do.
Yeah, and you could conceivably host when Grandmaster comes through,
Yeah.
and you're having the seminars and so forth. You've got space that you could eventually accommodate.
Oh yeah, eventually, yeah. You're going to have the maximum capacity rating, from the fire department and all that. So that's going to play a part.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, there's always different things that you can do to allow you to have more people in there. And right now, we just barely get on the threshold of having sprinkler system and that's a huge cost. And so
Right.
we were thankful that we got there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if we, while I don't necessarily see it because it's not something that I'm shooting for, I think if we hit 300 or 400 students, that would start setting off flags that we need to start either looking for a second location or go to the Dragon Dome.
Yeah, okay. Do you play music, or do you've got like atmospheric?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that as well.
Yeah, we have a little sound system that we use. I think music plays a huge part in the teaching,
Mm-hmm.
because it does kind of set the mood. And And during our testings, one of the different things that we do during our testings that other schools don't, we play music.
Yeah.
Our kids enter the testing floor to a theme song.
Nice.
So it's kind of like, what was that movie? Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
running through the hall, and you know, everything that we do out here has to be built on an experience, and that is our primary concern. I don't want to just teach martial arts. I want to teach people to really love martial arts. And I think that is the business that I'm in. I'm selling an experience, not just martial arts.
Thanks, man.
Hey,
That's awesome.
anytime.